This is Lord of Sin for Sin's Arcade, and this game is No Man's Sky. We're covering today how to get the most out of your inventory, regardless of whether you're playing normal, survival, or even permadeath. You have general technology and cargo locations for your exosuit. You have general technology and cargo spaces for your starship, and general technology, cargo, and then additional storage containers on your freighter if you have all of those additionally unlocked and ready to go. From what I've seen, a lot of people may not be getting the most out of their inventory correctly, and I was one of those people, and I kind of learned through the most recent expedition, or the freighter heavy expedition, Endurance. But most importantly, during the time loop expedition that we had to do, which was survival, because I had never actually really done much survival or permadeath on No Man's Sky. That being said, I actually learned some very valuable lessons that would help on across all of those, whether you're playing on normal mode like this current save is, or on survival or permadeath. The only limitations on those is that you have a certain specific stack size, which is greatly diminished. I think it's a quarter of the normal stack size, literal normal stack size. So in this case, what I'm trying to point out to you is, if you notice, there's a lot more technology inside of my general slot because of the limited space for technology, which is something I hope Hello Games actually addresses fairly soon. That would be very nice. But the other thing that I'd like to point out is, if you look at my cargo, you'll notice mostly crafted items. You won't really see any base materials that you can use per se, besides this condensed carbon and the sodium, which I kind of, and some of this stuff down here at the bottom. The only reason that we're carrying those is because some of them are additional things for either upgrading, charging, or building, or upgrading and charging these different things up here. The vast majority of your elements that you use to craft with, to craft the items that you craft, would be, those should go into your starship. And if you are lucky enough to have a good freighter and all of the ability for additional storage containers, or have them on any of your bases, then this will work as well. You really want to have all these on your freighter, truth be told, because once you upgrade your freighter well enough and you have the item teleportation enabled, the freighter just needs to be in the same system, regardless of which planet you are in that system, just in the same system for you to be able to access anything that's inside of that. And even when it's not in the same system, you still have access to the main general and cargo storage slots on your freighter, whether it's in the same system or not. And then with this tritium, these all stack to a maximum of 9,999 each, regardless of where they're put. So even if you put them into the starship cargo hold, they'll never get any larger, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So say I grab this stack of tritium and I put it in here. You can always tell where the bar is on how full they are based on the bar underneath. Notice that, for example, this Corvax casing has 9, and the little white bar at the bottom is almost near the far right side, so it runs from left to right. Now, however, with this spark canister, there's only 5 of them, and this area allows me to hold, I think, 200 based on this specific part. I do recommend taking advantage of the No Man's Sky companion app for mobile devices, whether you have a tablet or a smartphone, or just befriending and getting, finding the website and using that, because then you can find out what each item stacks up to at a maximum. And that allows you to take advantage of the space that you have accordingly. So that's why the other reason that you're not seeing any of the elements in the cargo slot, if I'm going to hold on to them at all, for example, like this platinum was overflow platinum from something else that I had done. So that platinum, for example, is sitting in my general slot, because it doesn't matter where I put that platinum, it's always going to be a max stack of 9,999. Whereas this Walker Brain, for example, I think that goes up to a maximum of 15, and if I were to put it into a cargo slot, for example, then it would go even better. So for example, let me show you what I mean by that. So notice there, for some reason, have 2 different stasis slots. They're not even supposed to be in here, but because I have a maximum of 10, as soon as I go back over to my general slots, I can only stack them to a maximum of 5, meaning that stasis devices technically only stack to a max of 5. Doesn't matter where you put them per se. You can max out here, it's going to be a maximum of 5 regardless. If I move them over to the freighter, there's still going to be a maximum, or actually in this case, if you look at the back of the actual panel that you're putting them into, the slot tells you what kind of slot or capacity you have. So the ones with the crates or the cubes, those are considered cargo, and you can see that also on your starship or your exosuit respectively. The cargo slot is right here. However, if you go to general, it's always a gear icon. Same thing. One caveat that goes with that is that survival and permadeath have limited stacks. So meaning that your items only stack to a certain amount in those different game modes, significantly smaller than what normal mode is. For example, this is a normal mode save, and this cobalt can go to 9,999. On survival and permadeath, I believe that is 1/4 of that, maybe, so like 2,500 it can max up to, and that means that you're going to have to use many more slots. And if you're using a cargo slot instead, because it's double the capacity, you're looking at a maximum of 5,000, not 10, basically 10,000. So you have to plan accordingly on that one. That means you're also going to have to be very careful about how you go about holding on to additional stock. That's the last point that I wanted to make out. As I mentioned earlier and attributed to it in the beginning of the video, having the additional storage containers on your freighter and having the freighter fully maxed out as far as like warp capabilities and where it can go and the systems that can go to, meaning that you can lead the way with your ship and then call your freighter in or warp in with your freighter. For example, I pretty much take all the hyperdrives out of all my ships, because my hyperdrive range on the freighter is significantly much beefier than it would ever be, and it's just easier to take the freighter with me. The other reason it's easier to take the freighter with me is because it's basically a gigantic intergalactic backpack, meaning that everything that I have, and if you look now at the storage containers, I have them all pretty much aligned by the periodic table of No Man's Sky elements, and right down the line I already have, for items that I'm going to use more of, those are double stacked. And if this were a survival or a permadeath save, then I would require probably more, and that means I would have even more limited options at the end, because I ran out of space to be able to put so much different stuff. You'd require a lot of stuff if you want to continue to build or keep stuff going, or you have projects that you're working on. But I digress. Having all of this on your freighter is worthwhile, because then you have an intergalactic backpack that goes with you everywhere, and once you have the item teleportation enabled, then you have access to all of those wherever you're at. Having the cargo slots here already filled up with components makes it even easier, because then you don't have to reach out for those. And finding the base elements is inconsequential, because most planets have them if you, for whatever reason, can't call your freighter in, or you don't have them on your starship. Regardless, I hope you guys are all having a great day out there in the universe. Have a happy and safe one. This is the Lord of Sin for Sin's Arcade, saying I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Having the cargo slots here already filled up with components makes it even easier, because then you don't have to reach out for those. And finding the base elements is inconsequential, because most planets have them if you, for whatever reason, can't call your freighter in, or you don't have them on your starship. Regardless, I hope you guys are all having a great day out there in the universe. Have a happy and safe one. This is the Lord of Sin for Sin's Arcade, saying I'll see you in the next one. Peace.